Hey, how are
Hey.
you?
Hi, Jenny. Fresh off your Mexico trip.
I know.
Yeah.
AK.
Tan.
And bless
You're
your
looking
heart,
good.
we're here sick with pneumonia, and
Oh my gosh,
I'm out
Jenny.
living my best
You
life.
are all. I was just living vicariously through you last week on Facebook. I'm like, there's my girl, and I'm in bed. Jenny, when I'm in bed, I hate to say this because I don't ever get sick. I really, really don't. But now that I'm reintroducing, I'm around kids at the school, it's like my immune system's kickstarting. I was like sick a month ago with this virus infection I went to the doctor for, and I missed like a week of work, but then I was still struggling the next week. And then I was good for a week, which was Halloween week, and then I get pneumonia. And let me tell you, I was thinking about you while I was bored in bed. You're not somebody that likes to lay around either, right? Because I cannot. God love my husband. If he gets a man cold, he's in bed for a week. He's shut down in the basement. I cannot sit still. So, of course, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, that's probably why it probably prohibited me from getting better faster. But I watched a lot of our shows because I haven't really sat down and really, really watch them. And I'm like, Jenny you're so good at just saying what you want and what's on your mind. And I was talking to Brian before the show. I'm a little bit more, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I'm a little more reserved. But I'll tell you what, when I'm sick, I'm a different person. I turn into a crab. I don't care what people think. And, it's not like I'm talking to anybody. I'm talking to myself in my room. But I get crabby. So if I say anything that's really bad today,
You're talking to me.
bless my heart.
Bless your heart, it'll be fine.
It's going to be fine. Jenny's going to take care of me.
It's funny, actually, because Travis would say that he doesn't find it as entertaining that I just say what I feel
love
and
that about
think.
you. I really think that's a great quality. Travis, you need to appreciate that, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Yes, I think it's great. But you know what? You always are good at, and I'm awful at. Let's thank Dave and Dave at Game 7. Are you proud of me for remembering?
I'm so proud of you.
Yes. Okay. And
Thanks,
then,
Dave and Dave.
And then Prime Sports, Jenny's future employment place.
Yes.
And let's just stop real quick. Drew, do we look good? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
What's up today?
You want to know what's on Mayberry's mind?
Yes, you're going to carry us.
Let's do this. So I was thinking about this because we're off season. You start to think about things, and every year, and this might entertain you. You might be like, that's so funny. But I have people reach out to me and ask
I think that's great.
about, so we're looking at X, Y, and Z club, this and that. I know you know a lot of people in the basement, this, that. What are your opinions on that? They want to know. And I mean, in that inbox, I am brutally honest. You think I'm honest?
I love that.
Here. So I usually am pretty, I chat a lot, and it's that time of year, but
And what's it in our last show? You're like, if you don't want an honest answer, don't ask me.
do not ask me. Yes.
I
I'm
love
not
that.
the person if you want honest.
If you want sugarcoat.
Yes.
Ask me.
Not for me. I know. So funny. So I was kind of thinking about that. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Off season. I'm going to be getting those inbox messages about we're trying out for this. What do you think about this? What made this team? What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And so I always kind of tell them. But something I was thinking about, because we've talked about this, even though it's bittersweet, as our kids are getting older, we're those moms that have been in the scene for a minute. So we have that.
Yeah.
But when I started, there was those parents that now, it's so sad, but their kiddos are either in college or done with school. And so they were the ones saying, been doing this a long time, you'll learn, so I would learn from them. But one of the common things that I would see or hear a lot of times that was so interesting was that people that had been with any club for a long time, and then they end up eventually moving on somewhere else, and you're always like, gosh, why would you stay somewhere for so long, this and that. It's funny because the common thing that I hear from a lot of those families, moms, dads, anyone, is that when they started out, the atmosphere, the feel of the club, the organization, whatever it was, started one way and it got different through the years. And I started thinking about that, and now that I've been in it a minute, and thinking about my experience. And what I can say is I think that sometimes it happens not on purpose. It probably just happens. But if you think about it, you start out, you're in an organization, I don't think any owner or, club starts out thinking we're going to get in this because we are going to make some money. I think a lot of times it really is that the kids, or they think about it, or the experience, maybe they had kiddos play somewhere and they're like, you know what, I want a different feel. I want it to be a family atmosphere, whatever the intentions. And they start these organizations because I do think they truly mean well, and it's about the kids, and that's how it starts. I think, unfortunately, what happens sometimes, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is that they're saying they get a little big for their britches, or I think that money starts, it's like dollar bills, y'all. They start to see the dollar signs, and I think they start to lose sight sometimes of why they started it in the first place. That it really was about, because they wanted kids to get really good training. They wanted it to be about the kids, that they wanted so many things. And I think, for me personally, that people just kind of lose their way. I'm not saying every organization, or that I hear that about everyone, but I have heard it about a few that people had spent so many years and they move on somewhere because they feel like the reason they had chose that club in the first place was just not there. And, it's true. Like, I look at that and it's sad. I think that sometimes they do see the money, and so they lose sight. It's just like more and more and more and more. And I don't know if maybe you see it, and I don't think it's just baseball. I think in general, it's clubs and sports, youth sports in general. And you know what I mean? It's just kind of a sad situation. I think that it happens, and I don't think they're purposely like, oh, hey, just kind of
the
takes
money
over sometimes.
Or the money aspect might take over, and they might not feel. They might lose sight of what, like you said, what's more important. And you know what really struck me was when you said that, like, it takes away from Afton, or what were the other places?
Yeah, we were talking about that too, that, back in the day, if you think about this, when probably even before my kiddos started playing, like, club sports were, like, we joke about CYC, and I played, but, but CYC, that is that. It's because kids that want to be on a team and kids that love sports. It was every kiddo could play that sport. I think even CYC I mean, now they have A teams, B teams, everyone, they're stacking it's almost sad. And I feel like that you used to be, you would go to a club to be a club player because you were an elite athlete of that sport, be it baseball or soccer or basketball. That's what you did. And you tried out, and they didn't just take any kid. Right. And now I get it's a for-profit organization. I don't have necessarily a problem with that, but I think the problem is that because of the money part of it, and that aspect, that they take everyone. There are some kids that are not supposed to play baseball. There are some kids that should not be playing soccer. And if they are, that was why those places were formed. Afton Athletic, Kirkwood, Fenton, all those places were for those kids that did love it, and they played because they loved it, but they were not elite athletes. They weren't going to go on in high school, not college, some of that. And I just feel like now they're always like, oh, well, anybody, we there's a team for everyone. I feel like that's why you have clubs that are busting at the seams and have all these teams. And sometimes they can't even compete when they're going to play in tournaments because, quite honestly, they're not baseball players. They're not soccer players. And they're having these kids because they want that money. And so they'll find a team. And I think it's taken away a lot of things. Like, I really, like Afton, I don't think they even have enough teams to run leagues anymore. And it's just sad to me. It's really sad. And that's where those kids should have been, or where it used, or how it used to be. And now you have this huge moneymaker, and that's fine. But then I think people are losing sight of what it was supposed to be about, or why they started it. And I feel like some of them are not built or organized to have organizations the size they do. There's no communication, or it's poor communication. They can't schedule things they should be. They don't have a way to, we've double booked practice on this, because they just don't, they're too big, and they don't have the means to organize it. And the kids are suffering and it's making people unhappy. And then people are leaving with, taste in their mouths over this stuff. And it's a lot of things. So I think these are the things I've been thinking about. And I do feel bad for the Afton Athletics that had been there for years and years and years for those kids. My oldest was one.
Yeah, he started
and he loved it, and that's where he played. And he didn't go on to play high school or that. That wasn't, he was a golfer after that, but he loved every minute of it. And I can't imagine if there was not a team for Cade to play. And I think it's quite silly. I would have never wanted to pay X amount of dollars that these clubs are charging. And the thing is, parents are paying it because they want to be able to say their kid belongs to a club. My kid's a club player. And they're taking their money, which I almost want to be like, shame on you, because that kiddo that's not for them. Does this make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Do you see what I'm saying?
No, the more you talk, the more I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Absolutely. And that's real. That makes me sad if like places like Afton, I don't know, because I don't know around where I live if that's happening around where I live, but that is really sad. And honestly, what does it mean to be in a club anymore then? Or on the top team or the elite team or the national team, those so many, that's so watered down, I feel like now.
And it is. And I think that part of it is the club, but you know what? I think parents have a little bit of blame here too, because I feel like, and some of them, I get it, but they're kind of duped into that, they want their kids to be on a club, or they want their kids, so they're paying money, and it's so some of it as a parent, you kind of have to know your kiddo's potential and know. And sometimes I think the kids don't even necessarily want to play, but the parents want to.
That. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of.
You're right. I was thinking, what you said earlier makes sense. What you said makes sense, but it doesn't. The scenario doesn't. Like if your son's not high level, why I wouldn't put out all that money. Cooper, you can go play at the Recplex. Right. Nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Obviously our boys are older, but especially when they're just starting out, like go play at your level. And if you can, if you can avoid the high costs of clubs early, like when they're little.
I think that we knew too, because that was the thing. We were all of our boys played at Afton. And we knew that my oldest, it was not going to be a long-term thing for him. He enjoyed it. He liked it. He played through 8th grade. But the other two started out there too, because at 7 and 8 years old, you have no idea what a kid is or isn't going to be. You don't know. And so here's a funny story to relate. I had someone reach out to me, like they do at times, and was asking about lessons and asking about some things. And, I said, well, let me talk with Travis. We, sat down, and where have you done lessons? Because they weren't happy where they were. And I was like, oh, wait a second. How old is the kiddo? And we start here, and this kiddo is like 7 or 8, something. I was like, oh gosh. I said, here's the thing. You want him to go outside and play catch with them. Go to the park and play. Like, you don't need to be spending that kind of money at this age. They aren't going to be pitching yet. They shouldn't be pitching yet. I kind of explained all the things and what were things they could do to start that process. And I said, get them on. And I guess I offended them.
I was going to say, was that not well received?
It was not well received.
Really?
And they did not respond to me. And never, and I'm okay with that, because I would say it all over again.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's 7 and 8, and quite honestly, maybe even not. Like, we don't need to be doing all that. We don't need to be in pitching and in hitting and in this, and then we're playing club for this, and then we're doing that. We're doing off train, and then we're gonna. These are kids, and you have no idea. And so I think that it's gotten on both sides a little bit crazy.
And you're right, parents
feed into it,
right? And we're parents, but I could say parents can get a little unrealistic about things.
Yes.
And obviously your kids weren't doing that. Cooper wasn't, we weren't investing in that at that time. We were outside with them.
Right.
get better. We weren't, we weren't paying for him to
Even just
throw or
playing
hit.
catch and doing some of those things just to
I think that was
for
really
the
good
love
advice.
and and it's fine. To each their own, but I think
Yeah.
that some of that, those are just things I've seen. There are amazing things with club sports. Like, we've been doing it. We wouldn't do it if if the positives did not weigh.
Oh, yeah.
But I have seen through the years, and I remember when I first started hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we played with that organization for years, and
Mm-hmm.
little by little, you would. It's just that sometimes people lose focus on why they started or why they're doing things. And I think that not every kid that plays a sport should be a club player.
No.
I don't care if you have the money to pay or you don't, but most of the time parents
Right.
don't. And they're spending every last penny to do this stuff, and it's not even necessary. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think it's gotten to be
Little out of hand.
such a big,
Yes.
that it's just a little bit too much. I mean, I have to chuckle a little bit. At one point, Jace played club soccer and club baseball, and eventually he chose, and baseball was his heart, and it was fine. But we got an email, and I remember being one of those parents, and we thought it was the coolest thing ever because he was invited for soccer school because he was so good, and there was so much potential, and we fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Like, paid all this money, went and did all this stuff, and then you see some of these kids that are going to kick the ball and fall,
Oh, no.
and you're like,
Wait a second.
wait, did everybody was good
get an
enough?
invite?
And so we did not ever do it again. We got the emails, and we always politely declined because we kind of realized what it was.
Moneymaker.
Yes, and at one point, Jace had chose to focus all on baseball. We were still getting emails from that club that
Oh my gosh.
he was pointed out by one of his coaches, and I'm thinking, well, how is that? We haven't even
Whoa,
been there
wait
for
a
the last
second.
season. How was he chosen by his coaches? He doesn't play soccer anymore. So then you're like, this looks plain silly. So
Yes.
we've been those parents, we've done those silly things, but we've also seen it, and it makes it look so bad because our child wasn't even with that organization, like didn't even play anymore.
Yeah.
And they were telling us that he was chosen by a coach. Yeah.
That's really shady.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do you say money grab without saying money grab?
Right. Just
So
throw out a little line in there that
Mm-hmm.
his coach recommended him and he's not even playing
Yes.
soccer. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I was like, his
Interesting.
baseball coach, because they used to get
Oh,
mad
yeah,
that we played both. Afraid he'd get hurt.
You're
So.
like, wait, his baseball coach
Yeah.
said that. That's funny.
So anyway, yeah, those were just things that were on my mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have those 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
What's on Mayberry's mind,
This is
and
the next one.
it's usually
this is our next
baseball,
show.
and those were the things that I was like, I'm gonna talk to my girl Tiff about that.
Oh
and-
yeah. I always agree with what you say, and you have things that you say things that I don't even think about. I'm pretty basic.
You're so funny.
No, but like that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't think there should be a rush to get into the club world until they're ready. And honestly, they don't. I mean, go play rec ball. Let them enjoy it. Let them
Have fun.
Play one season. I mean, not one. Maybe you can let them play in the spring and fall if you want. I mean, but like let them play during baseball season and have fun with their friends and get to love the game first before you start
Right.
investing. And you also, I think, have to be, and this is hard for parents, and this, I mean, I'm not saying that it's an easy thing. I realize it's difficult, but you also have to be honest about your kid's potential. Mm-hmm. This should be a definite, like, if they enjoy it or not. That's what's important. Don't push them early if they're not into it, because that would be.
And I also think that you're setting them up for failure.
Yeah, yes.
If you are having your child play with kids that are way above their potential, I mean, that's
Yikes. Yeah,
really
that's
an
hard.
ego deflator.
Yeah, oh, sure.
And at some point, it's going to stand out. It may not at that 8U, 9U,
Right.
but there starts to be a change in
A
that. And if you are
difference.
not truly meant to be playing, it's noticeable, and it's going to be hard for those kids. Like
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I just, yeah.
it's dangerous too at that age. I mean, when the bigger the talent gap is. If one kid's hitting line drives and the other one's still playing in the dirt and not seeing the line drive come, if you're in the infield or whatever, it can be dangerous. That's one thing I learned kind of early on with Cooper. I mean, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, I was thinking, playing up in baseball is a lot different than playing up in soccer, basketball. I think there's also like a liability factor when it comes to, if you're not ready and there's a difference in the hitting, or if the ball, if you're not ready. This one thing if they're ready and they can play up, I get that, but it's a whole other thing if you're not. And I think it's
probably hard. Like if that were my business, if I owned a baseball club, I'm sure that I would be like, yes, we, play for a club. We got, like I get it. Like it's a business. It's fine. Yes. I just sometimes morally start to think about things like I have a small business. And I will tell you, I'm the first person to say when someone's like, well, what can I, do I, want to lose this many pounds and I want blah, 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 blah. And one of the first things I will say to them is, how committed are you to your health and your wellness? Because here's the thing. There is no magic trick. There's nothing. So I will even tell them, if you're not committed, you're throwing your money away. And as much as I would, it's my job. I love to make money, but I also would feel bad if telling someone to go purchase X amount of dollars and stuff, if you're not committed to really reaching those goals, because it wouldn't make sense. And I guess there's enough really good players out there. There are enough kids that have good potential. There are that I feel like sometimes maybe the right thing to do to say, I just don't think baseball is for little Johnny, or whatever it is that like moral, I don't know, but maybe I guess I've never owned a club, but I don't know, at some point just taking money from people and promising to do something that is not you can't promise to make someone
terrific.
Yeah, there is a point that potential has to be there. There's got to be some ability that has to be there.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, Jenny.
So that's it. That's what was on my mind.
I think that's great. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers, all 8 of them, probably really, I'm just kidding. We have 9. I'm sure all of our viewers would appreciate hearing that too, because especially if they're just starting out in this, that's really good information. I wish I had it when Coop was little.
Right.
I wish I had a Jenny Mary Berry in my life when Cooper was little.
The things little. You know now. Things that make you go, So yes, that's what I was thinking about. I always feel good coming here and having my therapy session with you, getting it all off my chest. And now I'm like, okay, I've aired that out. I feel good about it.
You've educated people. You educated me, and especially Drew.
And the moral of the story for today's episode, you guys, is if you do not want an honest opinion from me, don't be popping up in my inbox then, because I'm going to tell you.
Don't be sliding into her DMs.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time, Jenny. Way to go, girl.
See ya.
Thanks for the info. Bye.